Hello, all my bullet journaling friends. I am coming to you with a very exciting video. I haven't kind of done one of these before, but on the backside in Instagram and on my comments on my videos, or a lot of time in my shorts, honestly, I get a lot of questions about how do I have time to set all this up. I don't have time to set this up. I get, just lots of like, I wish I could do this. I'm not that artistic, lots of things. So this video is definitely going to show you 5 layouts in your bullet journal that A, you don't need to be artistic, B, you don't need a ton of time, and C, you don't even need to know how to draw. I'm going to show you a few ways on how to achieve these results with a few different tools and cheap tools at that. So I will have a lot of things listed in the description below and where to find these tools and, and cheaper places to find them so you can get started setting up your bullet journal and not taking that much time. My goal is to set up 5 different layouts in about 5 minutes. I haven't really tested it out yet. I wanted to sit here and do it with you. So I did get my iPad to give us a timer. Hopefully you can see that in my video. Yeah, it looks like you'll be able to. And gotten out a few tools to do that. My first tool is my grid spacing. You can make one of these yourself, or the Scribble That Matters bullet journal that I am using comes with one inside. And this will show you how many grid spaces that you would like per your page, pretty much. It goes the horizontal and it goes vertically. So it's definitely a great tool to use. The next tool, of course, that you will want to use is pens. I am using the Micron 08 and 05. I generally use an 08 for my lines, and I just brought out my 05 because that is generally what I like to write in. A lot of people like to write in even smaller, which you can do like 03 and 01. Or you can get even larger and do the 10, which is very thick. I love that pen. But generally 08. I have an extra ruler for all the in-betweens. Not this time, but a lot of times I will pencil in my designs with a pencil. And then a few things that will help you if you are not the super creative. Like you see, I know, guys, the bullet journal world is full of crazy artistic people, but stencils and stamps help me get through all of that. I have a lot of people be like, oh my gosh, did you do that? I'm like, yeah, with stamps. Like, you can be equally as creative with stamps as you can drawing it out. So you would need just a stamp set, which you can get very cheap stencils on Amazon, and you can get pretty cheap stamps on Amazon also. And then you would just want to get a good stamp pad. This is one I use, but I do a ton of stamping in scrapbooking and in my bullet journal. So I have invested in a little bit better of a stamp pad, but I will put several in the description below that are cheaper and just, that work just as well. All right, so like I said, I want to get to it. I'm going to go through each one. I will speed up me putting the spread together just to condense this video, but I will also show you how much time it is taking by over here. So like I said, what we are going to do is we are just going to set up 5 weeklies, 3 full spreads, and 2 one-page spreads, because one-page spreads get the job done even quicker, and it doesn't take up as much room in your bullet journal also, so it saves you time and money that way. Okay, let's get going.
All right, so we are going to start that 5-minute timer and get going on this spread. This spread really, I didn't measure too much. As you can see here, I do measure my 3 columns up above. But other than that, that is pretty much all of the measuring that I'm going to be doing. And I think that's probably the least amount of measuring you could possibly get in a bullet journal. Now, if I wasn't racing against the clock, of course, this was my first one, and I wanted to do the most minimal amount of planning ahead of time so that it didn't look like I was all set up and ready for this for you guys. I literally, in my head, had a few spreads I wanted to do. Chose some from spreads that I had already done in the past when I needed a quick spread, and kind of went from there. So, yep, there is a couple of times in here where, I never drew out lines ahead of time. You will see bullet journalists, when they're doing a plan with me, kind of draw out their plan ahead of time, just to make things easier and so they don't mess up. I really wanted you to know that you could get your bullet journal one day and then start planning in it the next day. All right, so like I did mention, I use that circle stamp from one of my stamp sets. I will be posting some stamp from Amazon below that are very affordable so that you can, like I said, get started. And then I just wrote in my days. So super easy, super convenient, and ready to go.
All right, so I got a lot more done, honestly, than I thought I would get done. I measured out my lines, which I should have done that in pencil so that I could erase them. It's no big deal. A lot of this you can definitely customize to your own. Might want to do, honestly, is finish this line over here just to finish that out. But I honestly had 35 more seconds to go. So this is a very simple 7 days out of the week. I used a stamp, and I honestly didn't go through with this one because I just didn't know how much time I would have left. And it's a very simple yet effective way to set up your bullet journal in under 5 minutes. Oh, and just in case you guys can't see that, 4 minutes and 35 seconds. I used 2 different stamps, and yeah, everything worked out perfectly. I love it. One thing that I will do next week is take these 5-minute spreads and jazz them up a little bit. So when you start feeling more comfortable with in your bullet journal, you can start progressing and adding more things, and definitely taking your pages to the next level. But as a beginner bullet journalist, I definitely always recommend just starting simple and adding. Other ways you could have done this, obviously, is just do without the stamps. That's what I wanted to. I don't have a circle stencil on hand that big because I have stamps, but you can get several stencils online with circles, all different sizes, and just go around, use your pen, and do them this way. And honestly, it works all the better than just use a marker in between, which I will be doing on the next one to show you that it's super easy. I'm also going to use very cost-effective markers to do that. So let's move on to the next one. All right, new spread, new page. And we are going to show you in the next spread, we're going to reset our clock. And we are going to show you, I do wish, so other ways to get circles, if you don't have stencils or some other way, is a lot of us have washi tape. A lot of us have washi tape. You can use that. Look around your craft room and find ways, or your bedroom, and find circles that you can use for stencils. For me, this spread, I am going to use another stamp set and use this stamp right here. Again, just a nice, simple circle. So if you have a ton of stamps in your collection that you just don't use or never have used, or random stamps, definitely look for the ways to use them in your bullet journal. I did also want to mention that I did bring in an extra, stamps pad for that spread. Again, you can just use markers, which is what I'm going to use in this spread. Let's get started.
All right, guys, so this spread, I didn't do any measurements for at this point. I kind of just seen that 3 of these stamps were going to fit across the page. You do see that I'm off a bit on my x-axis, the horizontal axis. I could have went up just a smidge. It doesn't bother me much. There are definitely people that are perfectionists, and that is fine. Just, make sure at that point that you are paying attention to that line there. But thought that this spread came together super quick, honestly. I think under 4 minutes, I believe. But I tend to use this spread several times and just do a variation of it. And you still have a vertical spread with all of the dates, and for that 6 and that 7, you could honestly do one that goes above and under. I noticed that I did forget to do that. I did just put a frame around this because I had the time, so this is definitely something to jazz up your spread a little bit, add a little bit more. And this is the first time that you are seeing the Crayola tips come out. If you are a new bullet journalist and want a set of markers with a ton of colors, this is the set for you. Again, I will put those in the links below.
All right, so there is another spread done in under 5 minutes, really under 4 minutes, and I added a little bit of extra flair. You did see my marker ended up picking up the black from my ruler, so just clean your ruler. I use this setup in my bullet journal several times. I used it in my Christmas. I used a variation of this in my Christmas planner that I absolutely loved. Let's find it for you right here. Just a different variation of it going Monday through Sunday, and I actually threw in all 4 over here because I like to separate my Saturday and Sundays. But yeah, so this is one that I definitely use a ton. And of course, again, we are going to go from this to this once you get a little more used to everything. Ways that I could have used my extra 5 minutes, or my extra minute, is I could have went in and added a little bit of extra flair and added little things all over just to give it a little bit of extra flair, little dots. Always give your spots extra flair. Also, things that definitely jazz things up are a drop shadow. Again, this is stuff that we will definitely be talking about in my next video, when you are feeling more comfortable in your bullet journal. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so this next one is going to be a simple box. Pretty much you are just splitting your paper, your 2 sides into 4s. That is really it. This one I am not even going to use a ruler. You definitely can use a ruler. And if you don't even have a ruler, most of the time for your stencils, you could just use the side of your stencils also. So, but I wanted this one to look a little bit more freehand, since I know a lot of you sometimes aren't in love with rulers, or you just don't have one. You might have lost it or whatnot. Divide each one into halves is my bullet journal, maybe if you guys can see that, has a little tick to show me where half is here and half is there. And I go one box on each side of that. Again, this is super quick and easy. One other tip I have for you when you are doing freehand is to come towards you. So don't go away. Most of the time, most people are most comfortable going towards you. You have the most control.
And for our last full page spread, this is definitely an easy one to kind of adjust, and once you get comfortable with your bullet journal and how you want to set up your bullet journal, this is an easy one to customize. So you can do it one of two ways. You can do it where you get a ruler out and you make sure these lines are super straight and definitely super uniform, or you can do it this way and do it freehand. Freehand will be a bit faster. I don't know. Honestly, I might go a bit faster with a ruler since I'm not trying to be so careful. When you are doing it freehand, I do recommend just slowing down and taking your time, and that definitely, along with that tip that I just gave you, pulling it towards yourself will definitely help you make better lines. You can see that I did mess up in, I think, 2 spots on this spread, but using those Tombow brush dual pens is a great way to make a little swatch of color on each one and put a header. These also allow you to make big and thick and thin lines when writing. They do take a little bit to get used to writing with, but if you're not doing super scripty font, honestly, they are pretty easy to use. No fancy fonts here. I am just writing in my titles along with the dates. I thought I was going to start running out of time, so I was like going pretty fast. And then I do add in a calendar, which I will preface here in a little bit. I'm not one to usually add in a little monthly calendar. For me, it's just not functional. I don't use it, but for others it might. So I just did want to put it in there and show you that you can get it done in 5 minutes.
All right, and there's another fully done spread in less than 5 minutes, and I was even able to go through and do a little bit of, decoration, I should say. One thing I would add to this if I had more time is a drop shadow again. You will notice in the bullet journaling community, drop shadows are the thing right now. So just going through and adding a drop shadow to each one of your boxes just finishes off things. These are things that we will talk about in the next video to jazz up your pages a little bit, or to once you get comfortable in your bullet journal, to go a bit further, spend a few more minutes on. But actually, honestly, if you are just wanting to get your week set up, you can start like this, and each and every day you're in your bullet journal, you can do a little bit more to jazz up your pages so that at the end of the week they are full, they are vibrant. I am not one to add a calendar to my weekly spreads. I just do not see any point in it, honestly. There are people that do it every week. So I decided to do it this week. I don't love how my calendars come out looking. But honestly, the best way to go about this is to honestly do it with a smaller nib. And I just started out with too big of a nib, and yeah, that's what happens there. All right, so we are going to move on to our last 2 spreads, and these 2 spreads are going to be a 1-day or 1-page spreads, and I anticipate them taking even less time than the other spreads.
All right, so my first 1-page spread, I will admit I do not do these in my own bullet journal, but I did want to include it here because everybody is different, and I want you to see that you can make your bullet journal to whatever you would like it to be. But 1 page is definitely just not enough space for my to-do list. I run a few businesses and a few YouTube channels, and it's just not enough. So, all right, so really I just split this page up by 6. Then it used that stamp that I used before. I wish I would have had just a smidgen smaller of a stamp, and I wanted a square stamp, but I just couldn't find one that fit in my group, and I didn't have a stencil. So I'm going to put a stencil in the description below for what I was looking for on this one, but you can obviously use a circle stamp, and it turns out fine. I am just using a tan colored stamp to keep this lovely neutral palette, as we don't always need a ton of color. But you know, it is all preference. I like to try and show everybody. Some months I'm super colorful, and some months I'm not. I am just doing the days of the week with a little bit of a serif font, just to jazz it up a little bit, using that Micron 0.08, I should say. And then putting my month and week at the top and calling it good. So definitely will show you how to jazz this one up in my next video.
Alright, so I decided to keep it on a 1 page, like I mentioned. It didn't come out exactly how I envisioned it, but that's kind of what happens when you're just going by just trying to put something together for you guys. I went back to the circles. Back to the circles, so you could see how much you could get done with just one stamp set or one stencil set. Again, you could have just filled this in with marker. It is a bit quicker with the stamp though. All right, we're gonna go over here and just do another 1 pager and finish up our 5. For this one, you are going to separate the top by 3 and the side by 3, essentially making 9 boxes out of this. All right, so you just want to use your ruler up here, and since the 3 here actually goes in one, that lets you know that there'll be one extra space. So what I do is just use the 3, hit my spots, move over 1, hit my spots, move over 1, and hit the spots with the 3 there. Now, for this side, you want to do 3. Again, wrong one, wrong side. The 3 is still here. So again, you can see you come down 1 spot. So you should be good. 1, come down 1, start your 3. And 3. So there you go. That is much planning as I'm going to do ahead of time. So let's get started.
All right, and for our last one, as you can see, I did do a bit more measuring on this one, but I did it right with you to show you that it takes no time at all, especially if you have one of those grid rulers. If you don't have a grid ruler, you can always make your own. I have one for my B5 and use it all of the time. I've customized it to what spreads I do the most, and it works perfectly. All right, well, you see I made a little mistake there. A little bit of whiteout will be your best friend, or even a white gel pen. And one of my favorites is the the Uno, or the Jelly Roll. Sorry, the Jelly Roll 10. So just making my 9 boxes. Honestly, I've never made a spread like this because obviously I don't do 1-page spreads, but it did really intrigue me to try and figure out how to incorporate this into a 2-page spread. Obviously, I wouldn't need all 9 boxes, but you know. All right, back to using that super tip, the Crayola super tips. I love these markers. This is actually one of my favorite colors in the pack. It's just a very different purple. And I think it will be amazing for April coming up with Easter. Keeping it nice and simple, just putting the headers on top and using that last box as a note box, or maybe a to-do box or a to-buy box. Literally, it could be used for whatever you need it to be used for. Finishing up by putting March in the top of that box. First, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to put under it, and then I was like, oh, I can put the CH.
All right, and there is our fifth and final spread. Again, I thought these would take me the least amount of time, and honestly, they were a full 5 minutes. Maybe it was just more lines, and yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, but yes, so there is that. Again, we can jazz this up. Super fun. We can add our drop shadows, of course. You can put decorations in this box. You can do all sorts of things to these spreads, but for this video, I just wanted to do five quick 5-minute layouts. That's a lot of fives in there, to show you that it really does not take too long to set up any month in a bullet journal, and you can get really cute spreads from each of them in just 5 minutes, which would be, if you did have 5 weeks in a month, it would be 25 minutes to set up all 5 weeklies. When, yes, I'm not even gonna lie, there is a lot of last week's spread in my bullet journal took me 25 minutes alone. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I need a week like this, and I will set up a very quick week to do something like this and call it good. And then just decorate it as I go along. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope this has helped you. Definitely tune in and hit that subscribe button so that next week I will go over these 5 layouts, zhuzh them up a little bit, make them a little funner, and take a little bit more time once you get a little bit more comfortable with your bullet journal. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.